I think we'll move straight on to what everybody's here to hear about, which is what we have learned from 4 years of studying membership at MPP. Take it away, Jay.
We sometimes say that MPP was founded on the distinction between two things that are often talked about together: membership and subscription. Subscription to us is a product relationship. You pay your money and you get the product. If you don't pay, you don't get it. In membership, you join the cause because you believe in the importance of the work. They're not the same, but they're not exactly opposites either. Members give money, yes, but they may also give of their time, their knowledge, their enthusiasm, their expertise, and their own networks. How to appeal for that kind of support, how the different kinds of member support connect to one another, what it takes to run a successful membership program, what you can and cannot expect of members. These are the kinds of unknowns that created what we call the membership puzzle. It's a puzzle because all the parts have to fit together. The key part of the puzzle is the implied contract between the site and its members. What do the members give? What do they get? What do journalists give? And what do journalists get? Refining that contract, discovering the contract that works, is the real work of membership. But the puzzle turned out to be more complicated than we thought. For example, in 2016, 2017, we thought we would find more membership pure plays. Pure play is our term for sites like De Correspondent in the Netherlands. That's when you try to fund all of your operating costs directly from members. Instead, most of the sites we have studied over the last 4 years have several sources of revenue: grants, large donors, sometimes ads, and membership is only one stream. And sometimes the membership numbers help persuade other institutions like foundations or rich people that this is a site worth supporting. As we said, it got more complicated. We've also learned that membership and subscription can sometimes go together in a blended model. It's not one or the other. The Guardian, for example, combines 3 different models. It has subscription for its print customers in the UK. It has donation, which is especially popular with its US readers. And it has membership, especially for its Australian supporters. Now to Emily.
Thanks, Jay. This memberful way of operating may be relatively new in the news industry, but we found early on that it's the backbone of many other industries and communities around the world. In understanding what membership means, we looked horizontally to spaces beyond news, like open source software development, faith-based communities, environmental cooperatives, even Burning Man. We wanted to understand what motivated people to give their time and money to causes they believe in. And you can find that report in several languages in today's recap email. Some of the themes we found when studying spaces that have been experimenting with forms of membership and belonging, sometimes for thousands of years, include those that grow find deep value in listening, testing, and being fascinated with what members value. The key word here is fascinated. They truly are fixated on the people that they serve. Second, the organizations we studied are attuned to people's abilities, goals, limitations, and lifestyles. There's a whole range for their supporters to participate in ways that are designed to maximize their time and effort. It's not one size fits all. It's really ways that people can individually support the work as a whole. And finally, these strong membership programs grow at human scale. They don't exist to sell products, and they don't treat people as products either. Early on, we used this study of adjacent spaces to inform a sort of diagnostic tool for evaluating differences in membership programs. At the thick end of the spectrum, members give money and read your journalism, but they might also show up at events, offer advice and feedback, respond to callouts, share their knowledge, and interact with journalists. The relationship is denser and more intimate than relationships on the thinner end. Thick membership engenders a constant feedback loop between a news organization and its members. And the news organizations at this end of the spectrum typically offer different participation opportunities that are appealing to different types of people. I should note there are many subscription-based organizations that have cultivated this thick relationship with their subscribers. They have memberful routines, but not formal membership programs. I also want to say that thin may sound bad, but it has its advantages. Thin membership programs are less expensive and more agile to start. We've seen many examples of them being successful around the world. Thick models require more people, more engagement, and whichever direction your program chooses, know that this really isn't a pejorative distinction.
One of the next crucial distinctions that we made at MPP was sort of a continuation of what Emily just spoke about, this thick versus thin spectrum. As we got deeper into the research and deeper into sort of the operations of membership, how people are staffing it internally, the types of meetings that they're having to manage their membership work, we realized that using just the term membership, it was overloaded. It was doing too much work. It was too large an umbrella for so many different things that we were talking about. And that lack of precision was making it hard for us to be clear about what we were learning. And this became especially clear when we sat down to begin writing the membership guide. We realized that that thick versus thin membership spectrum wasn't specific enough. And also that, as Emily mentioned, the thin had a negative connotation that we didn't really intend in conversations. So Jay and I spent a long afternoon in summer 2020 trying to break the term membership down into something that could translate across all the different contexts in which MPP worked. And what emerged was these sort of three components that you see here on the screen. First is the membership strategy, which defines where membership fits within the vision for your organization. When you sit down to set annual goals or write a strategic plan, this is the component of membership that you're working on. And then there's the membership program. This is sort of a container for managing the people who give you financial support. It's the product that your reader interacts with when they become a member. And describing a membership program as a product to manage, like a newsletter, for example, was sort of an aha moment for us. We had long talked about membership as a cross-functional effort that couldn't just be one person's job. We talked about needing to have your editorial team and your revenue team in the same room in order for it to succeed. And so talking about and studying membership programs as a product to manage gave us the language and processes that we needed in order to help newsrooms build and manage one successfully. Thinking of it as a product connected it to the thriving discipline that is product thinking, which combines serious reading of the data with user experience questions. And there are organizations like News Product Alliance and Splice Newsroom who are already working hard to spread that practice, which means that there is already a lot of support out there for continued progress on developing membership programs and managing them successfully. And the third component of membership, memberful routines, are the workflows that connect audience members to journalism and the journalists producing it. This is engaged journalism when it shifts from one-off projects to the day-to-day operations of your organization. And routinizing this work is important because what becomes routine is it becomes the culture of your organization. And memberful routines can exist in other audience revenue models. For example, we have watched and worked with many subscription-based organizations who are adopting memberful routines as a way of building trust with their subscribers and improving the retention of their subscribers. And we've also seen that a membership program can exist without memberful routines. But at that point, it's mostly a fundraising mechanism, and it fails to address the trust deficit that we think that membership in its fullest forms can address. It's only when you combine your memberful routines with a membership program that you can address those trust and sustainability challenges hand in hand. And it's only when they work together that you see your members as assets to your journalism, not just revenue sources. So to recap, the membership strategy is your vision for how membership fits into the organization. Memberful routines are the day-to-day ways of working with audience members, and a membership program is what the members get when they click on Join Us. Another distinction that is brief but really important is that it doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit or a for-profit newsroom if you're pursuing membership. This is a question that we get at MPP all the time, can I be for profit and still have a membership program? And the answer to that is an unequivocal yes. Membership is thriving in many for-profit newsrooms, particularly outside the United States. And your tax status doesn't matter. What does matter is that you are transparent about your finances. That is something that members are seeking from the organizations that they support. They want to understand where the money that they are giving is going. That is sometimes more comfortable in nonprofit organizations. But again, it just comes down to transparency about your finances, not that tax status. There is one thing that is worth noting is that nonprofit newsrooms in many countries have the benefit of making membership tax deductible, but that is really the only distinction that we saw between how membership works in a nonprofit and for-profit environment.
In the newsrooms we studied early on, members said that exclusive or VIP access mattered very little to them. We came to believe and said very clearly that it was about the value proposition and the ethos, I pay to keep news free for everyone. And yet, as we expanded our work, we saw that the term membership doesn't translate well in every culture, or certainly in every language. And so again and again, we saw that definitions mattered more than direct translation or terms. As newsrooms in Eastern Europe, Asia, and Africa increasingly turned to membership, some of them were finding that transactional benefits really matter for converting readers and listeners to members. In making coverage freely available for everyone who might benefit from it, we are seeing many sites that gain and retain members by offering benefits like discounts to local businesses and other vouchers. These are benefits that are low cost to procure and can convince people who haven't paid for journalism before that it's worth doing so, that there's value in it for them and for the news organization. How much benefits matter for membership program growth remains an open question, and answers may vary by region and acculturation to paying locally. We would love for you to share promising examples you see using the hashtags MPP Summit and hashtag MyTurn, as you see organizations that really are growing by including transactional benefits as part of their membership value proposition.
The basic unit of membership practice is, we think, the try. That means you make an educated guess about what will work with members. You see what happens, revise it if you need to, or stop if it's not working. The trick is not to invest too much in one try until you know you have something. For example, maybe some of your members want to learn new skills, like how do you actually do fact checking? You could ask them in a survey if that's something they want, but it's probably just as effective to try it for one night and see what happens, see who shows up before you invest too much in teaching skills to members. The newsrooms with the most effective membership programs we have found tend to be good at tries. They don't overthink it. They follow up immediately when something works. When it doesn't work, they move on to the next thing without regret or hesitation. We know this sounds simple, obvious maybe, but it's also important. Learn how to master the art of the membership try. There we go.
And here's where we are now. As you've heard, we've learned a lot in the past couple of years. Membership is much more mature and better understood than it was when we started in 2017. There are established best practices that you have seen codified in the membership guide, which we'll continue to update. There are newsrooms in every region who are demonstrating those best practices and also doing a fantastic job teaching others about what they are doing that is working. And there are coaches and consultants in every region who can support membership, as well as other organizations who are funding it. In some countries, we're still in that experimentation phase, still working on explaining what membership is to newsrooms and to their potential members. In other countries, we're in that professionalization stage. Newsrooms have figured out their formula, their social contract, and now they're templatizing that work so that they can grow and really make membership a meaningful part of their revenue mix. You'll hear from newsrooms in both of those phases throughout the week, and as well as many of those who are sort of in the messy middle between those two ends of the spectrum. But just because we're sunsetting, that doesn't mean that the work is done. Here are a few things that we're still wondering about. As Emily mentioned, we know that exclusives matter more in some contexts than others, but we don't know yet which types of exclusivity matter in which context. So we look forward to continuing to hear from all of you what you're trying out in your membership programs. We also don't know what to expect from members when newsrooms come under threat. Will they rally to the publication's side and support them through the turmoil, or will the government crackdowns intimidate them? We have some initial answers about that, and we'll be hearing more from a researcher about that tomorrow, but it will take years to truly understand how members behave in those really tough moments for newsrooms. And another we're thinking about a lot these days is that we don't know how many memberships people are willing to have. We talk a lot about the subscription ceiling. It's a constant conversation in the media innovation space, but membership is a cause that people join. So the unknown for us is whether membership is going to behave more like subscriptions, where people have a maximum that they're willing to spend in any given month or any given year on subscriptions, or whether it will look more like the way people behave with charitable giving. You don't hear too many people say, I only have the bandwidth to care about and support 2 causes a year. We've got time for a few questions, so feel free to drop them in the Q&A. And the first question we have from Peter is, was there a different name for membership that really surprised you? Emily, do you want to take this one? Because I think you have spent a lot of time looking at this.
Sure. It's always hard to pick a favorite. I would actually say the thing that surprised me the most was how much the literal translation of the word member connoted political party affiliation in a lot of languages. I think that was the real sort of wake up for us, that we needed more of those definitions that people could wrap their heads around, that were crystal clear in their intention, and that separated out why this was not, in fact, belonging to a political party or even a religious organization.
And we saw some organizations choose names for members that were linked to the name of their organization. I know the Narwhal in Canada calls their members Narwhals. The Daily Maverick in South Africa calls their members Maverick Insiders. So we also have seen people sort of sidestep figuring out that question of what does membership mean in our country, and instead choosing a name that identifies much more strongly with their branding than with the term membership.
Interestingly, Ariel, we didn't find that much trouble in making this basic distinction between product, buy the product, and join the cause. That seemed to translate fairly well across languages.
The next question from Vanessa Maria is, in your research, did you find that membership organizations were able to include and serve people who can't afford to buy memberships in communities experiencing poverty? That's a great question. This is actually one of the reasons that we started distinguishing between a membership program and memberful routines, because we thought it was incredibly important for organizations to do that engagement work, to do the journalism with all audience members, not just those who are willing to pay. So we have seen many organizations sort of open up much of their engagement work or their memberful routines work to their entire audience, not just those who are paying members, which is one thing that we're really encouraged to see, because this is something that absolutely concerned us as membership took off. And you'll actually hear on day 3 from an incredible organization based in Mexico City called Conexión Migrante, and they serve Mexican immigrants in the United States, particularly helping them navigate immigration challenges. And they recently launched a membership program that is a free membership program. You register and you have access to a sort of wiki that has information on all of the different immigration questions they have answered for people. And all you need to do there is register with, I believe, either your WhatsApp number or your email address. And so we have seen people experimenting with sort of free memberships in order to sort of create that container, which makes it easier to manage and support the members, but not necessarily tying a credit card on file to that designation of member.
And I would add that to us, one of the key challenges in membership work is figuring out how to value forms of wealth other than money that members can contribute. When you share your network with a news site, that's a form of wealth. When you share your expertise that's a form of wealth. When you share your experience to help make the reporting richer, that's a kind of wealth as well. So we think this is an important part of membership practice and another thing that distinguishes membership from subscription.
I'll quickly just add, and I think Ariel and Jay's answers were spot on. I maybe anticipated that we would see more sort of direct one-to-one underwriting of membership programs. So the idea that for a student who couldn't afford to pay, a paying member might be able to underwrite that individual's subscription directly. And I think a drawback there, that's quite a bit of matchmaking for especially a small resource-constrained organization to undertake. And that really underscores the idea of the importance of the blended audience revenue models that Jay mentioned early on.
Yeah, that's a great point. We worked with a number of organizations or studied a number of organizations who were trying this sort of underwritten membership. And one thing that was a big challenge that I think they're still trying to figure out how to overcome is if you offer a free membership to somebody who doesn't yet have a habit with your organization, even though it's free, they might not use it. And so many organizations are sort of figuring out what is the sort of user journey for the person who's being offered a free membership. If, say, a philanthropy says, we'll fund 1,000 free memberships in this neighborhood, if you launch those free memberships before you've done any work in that neighborhood, held events there, held conversations with people there, done audience research to find out whether the journalism that you're doing is even useful to people in that community, offering them a free membership doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be activated or utilized. Let's see, we'll take another question here from Mark Coffin. I'm curious about how newsrooms explain their tries to members. Do the members care that their newsrooms are trying one thing this week, another the next? Have you found any creative approaches to how newsrooms explain their tries to members or even involve them in the process? That's a great question. Emily or Jay, do you want to take that one? And also I'd encourage any newsrooms that have done this to potentially share in the chat what they have seen as well.
I would say a theme in what works around the membership try is a good amount of humility. As much as possible, using your real name, being straightforward about what you're attempting and how you'll measure success against that experiment or against that metric. We've seen time and time again, organizations that didn't get their tries right, but were humble and asking for feedback and truly integrated what they had learned into the way that their membership program operated and grew. I've been really impressed by seeing members of organizations where there is a really strong bond saying, you know, we get it, you didn't get it right, but you operated in public in a way that shows me you're listening and you're paying attention. You're not just taking me sort of along for the ride. And that idea, I think, will come up throughout this week of attempts that you make and how you learn and grow from those.
Thanks, Emily. We have a few more questions and we'll do our best to answer this in the chat, but we are going to move on to our first presentation now.